Hello there, and we're off. We're going to be making a rock tutorial for MudBox. Now, here's one I've just grabbed from the archives. On the left, we've got the lower poly, but still reasonably high. I think around about 5,000 polys, and on the right, we've got something closer to just under 1,000,000 polys. So the one on the right might be a bit too big for what we're doing in an Unreal scene, but it does provide some really interesting form studies that we can look at. And as we can see here, how the light's falling off the lower poly version, you can see you've got some channels there, you've got some protrusions, you've got some cavities, you've got some scallops. It's really great to see that you can, they've got divots and whatnot where you've got the erosion. But even without the texturing, it's still quite an interesting model. There's quite a lot going on there. And even, you find points that where the water would well up and all these sorts of things that would happen in nature. I'm pretty sure that these are either laser scanned or photogrammetry models. I just had them in my toolkit before, so I thought I'd have a really good inspection of what we're dealing with here. You notice there's some sharp sections, and also that there are sections with a lot of texturing and sections with very little texturing as well. It's quite sparse. And that's what's worth noting, is that there's variance. It's nature. It doesn't come out of a mold or out of a factory. It's just it comes out of the, I guess, it just stays out in the wild for a very long time, and the erosion and other forces kind of form the rock that way. So it's very interesting, and I guess it's kind of a different way of thinking as you would with most product design. The other interesting thing is what I'm alluding to here is if you look at all the from far away as a silhouette, it actually casts many silhouettes or projects many silhouettes, which is a really interesting thing if you think about it. Because if you're got a lot of these rock assets, if you're far away, you're not actually going to see any of the form. You're just going to see the silhouette. So seeing lots of silhouettes, especially if you can kind of maximize the usability of it, that you can kind of have many different silhouettes, so you can just rotate it and scale it in slightly different ways, and you can have many rocks together. You can actually get quite a lot of mileage out of just one asset, which is great. So as before, we're just really just cutting up boxes with the old insert edge loop tool. Um, Not sure what we're going to do. I kind of want to have some channels. That I think that's where I'm going with this, and kind of want to have, as you can see here, like that sort of section where a little bit juts out and a little bit comes in, a little bit like an L section there. And this makes for a really interesting type of rock. Um, the interesting thing about it is that, oh, here you go, just softening it there. So just adding some edge loop tools here. I noticed in the comment section that uh, someone or many people were having a little bit of a problem knowing how many edge loops to put in. My suggestion is just to start off slowly and then add as many as is required, I guess. Much like any physical or digital modeling, slowly work on a model and just add as you need. Don't try to do too much at once. I think I broke those rules in the last tutorial, but I kind of been doing it a little bit, so it, it depends, I guess. There is no hard and fast rules. Kind of the more you do it, the more you kind of get a feel for it. It's the same as any modeling. Notice that little black section there. Have to get rid of that. Can't have any models that don't work particularly well, because you've got to bring these into MudBox, remember. So um, you don't want any polys that are overlapping or tearing or creasing too much. So just think of that as you're working away, which is good. And you've got an extrusion there, and extrude in, extrude out, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, you don't want to make it too pronounced, I guess. You just want to be aware that there's cavitations and that sort of stuff. And yeah, look at that, really good. Um, Slowly but surely, you're making some channels here, got some very hard sections. There's some just really interesting sculpted sections there. And I'm starting to see, like above, I'm starting to see certain silhouettes form, which I'm really happy about. That's something that I want there to be, if I'm far away, I want to go, oh, that's a rock. And I want it to be an interesting rock. I don't want it to be just you know, a sphere or a cube that's kind of just been bashed up a little bit and added some rough textures all over. Because that's not really what I'd see in nature. In nature, if you actually, if you go out there and do a little bit of a Google search for rocks and whatnot, you find some very interesting um, rocks with a lot of character. Yeah, and that's because they've been there for a while. I think Utah has a national park that's got some really cool rocks, likewise with, um, Grand Canyon, that sort of stuff, and Hanging Rock in Woodend or Mount Macedon's pretty cool too locally. Lots of rocks that are kind of interesting and kind of have a little bit of character and story to them because they've been out in the wild for a while and they've seen a lot of things. These rocks, they've lived. So here we go. We're just modifying, making sure all our UVs, not UV, sorry, all our vertices are appropriately put together. And you've got quite a sculptured rock there. And keep this mesh, and we're just going to add a lot of definition. Just note that this is sped up to twice the speed, so just to get through it, because we've got two sections of this, so it'll be 15 minutes all up. So on to the next section.